That's right. I mean, Propspot is the smarter way home. We sit down with you, take you through a strategy session, use all the various data points that we've got at our disposal to help empower you to make the right decision on your property journey. At the end of each month, I get the most up-to-date data. It's the data that we've got is definitely not lagging behind like some of the free sources you may be using.
Good day everyone, I'm your host Tony Shah and thanks for joining me on another episode of the Mortgage Chat. So today I have Big Sean right here from Propspot that's joined us on our very first podcast in our very brand new office. Welcome Big Sean, how are we today?
Very good, mate. Loving the Friday.
You're loving life?
Loving it.
Loving it, right. So Sean, as you know, we've done an episode a few months ago about Propspot, how it can help out first-time buyers, first-time investors that cannot afford to use a buyer's agent. And it's taken through the roof because we've got some great feedback from a lot of our clients and probably a lot of consumers out in the market as well. You know, especially for the people that cannot afford to use a buyer's agent that's paying $10,000, $12,000, $15,000, $20,000, right? And as you say, Sean, you can do it at a fraction of the price, remember? Okay, and that's why we've been attracting such high quality clients.
That's right. I mean, Propspot is the smarter way home. We sit down with you, take you through a strategy session, use all the various data points that we've got at our disposal to help empower you to make the right decision on your property journey.
So today's episode is just to tell you about the market, tell you about what's going on, what I'm seeing, what Sean's seeing, because a lot of the data that consumers are seeing out there are lagging data. Sean actually sees the data probably a few weeks behind, a month behind, what do you call it?
Yeah, the data that I look at, currently it's the middle of August. We're looking at data that's from the end of July. So it's currently 2 weeks behind. At the end of each month, I get the most up-to-date data. It's the data that we've got is definitely not lagging behind like some of the free sources you may be using.
Mm-hmm. So the purpose of this episode today is just a general chat, tell you about what's happening in the market. I'm going to give you my overview. Sean's going to give you his overview. I'm going to tell you a case study of one of our clients that didn't get professional help. So let's get it started. Let's get it cracking. Let's have a chat.
Sounds good.
Okay? Yeah. Big Sean, what are we seeing in the market right now?
Victoria.
Very hot.
Man, the amount of people chasing Victoria is absolutely insane. From Frankston to Broadmeadows and Dallas, which I think we talked about in the previous episode, all the way around regional Victoria, Mildura, Shepparton, Morwell, pretty much anything that is in the state is getting ready to go on a tear or already on a tear. And that's practically what we're seeing,
Yep.
I don't know if you can talk about your side, Tony, but we're not seeing anyone chasing Perth. No one's chasing Townsville anymore. Forget about Sydney, let alone Adelaide. All the attention is on Victoria.
Well, still, right, let's call it 12 months ago. No one was even having a sniff at Victoria. No one.
I was, but that's a story for a different day.
Yeah, you were, right? But a lot of first-time investors out there was not even having a sniff at Victoria. Look, some were, all right? But majority was still looking at Townsville area, right? Perth, South Australia. I got a client that I told to buy in Townsville area 2 years ago. I go, look at Kerwin, look at New Auckland, look at Kelso before, when the price ranges were still around the mid-4s, right? And guess what? She just bought at Kerwin and I told her not to look at Kerwin anymore. She just bought at Kerwin for $650.
That's
$650.
You mean this month?
This month.
Wow.
$650.
Wow, that's way past the boom.
Right, so I obviously I don't want to tell her exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Right, it's her decision. If she sees more good growth in the next 12, 18 months, which we probably are seeing maybe, right, then sweet, not a problem, right? But I still found more value down south of us a little bit. And we're in Sydney, okay? So I still found better value in Victoria.
I mean, the reality is, right, for the longest time, Melbourne has been undervalued in comparison to all the other capital cities and states. And now when you have Townsville, right, and mind you guys, Townsville is a regional city, population's about 250,000 people, where the median house prices in most of Townsville now exceeds most of metropolitan Western Melbourne. That tells you something. It tells you that Melbourne is undervalued or Townsville is overvalued. Now, you guys can draw your own conclusions, but we're seeing the heat turn on Melbourne and it's turning on fast. Broadmeadows, Dallas, Coolaroo, Craigieburn, these suburbs are suburbs where a house goes on the market Monday, and by 5 p.m. Tuesday, it's already had 10 offers.
Right. And let's talk about the client that we're working with together. Right? One of my clients that I refer to you, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain on the first open day, so not the first open day, but the first day it got listed, how many offers was put up?
19.
19 on the first day.
First day.
First day, 19.
19. And through the networks as well, buyers agents or any other property sources are out drumming up the phones, making phone calls, organizing inspections at record-setting paces. Property may go online at 9 a.m. and by 11 a.m. there's probably got 3 buyers agents hovering over it.
Yep.
So those areas in Melbourne, Broadmeadows, up all the way up to Craigieburn, they are heavily in demand, and the properties in there are running quickly.
I reckon the pinnacle time to buy in those areas were probably around August, September last year. Yeah,
Probably even earlier. It's funny, right? If you go on the Propspot YouTube channel, I did a deep dive today on Meadow Heights. I was in Meadow Heights April 27th, 2024, where I saw a property go under auction for $550,000. That was 15 months ago. Just last week, I saw a very similar property on a smaller block of land sell for $672 in Meadow Heights.
And a lot of the growth would have came up the last 6 months, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think
After the New Year's.
it was really quiet until about December.
Yep.
And then in January, people started realizing, oh, okay, Melbourne is truly undervalued. Let's get in on that market.
Yep. And a lot of people got deterred because of the land tax, right? Of the land tax, mate, it's cost of doing business, right? And I said it all the time, it's cost of doing business.
The media spins it really well, right? The land tax on my properties in Victoria last year was $2,500. The land tax, the insurance premium on a flood zone property in Kerwin or somewhere else in Townsville where it's more susceptible to floods could be in excess of $5,000 or $6,000 a year. So if investors weren't, bulking their eyes out at insurance premiums in Townsville, why would they at the land tax in Victoria?
Yep. And to be honest with you, a lot of people got pushed to Townsville because it started hitting up because that's where all the buyers agents were recommending as well, right? So in a way, I believe, I say it again, in a way, I believe it was the buyers agents that was driving up the prices around the area. I say it 100%.
I think there's some merit to that fact. Somebody's got to start tracking the buyer's agent heat map.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And correlating property prices with where all buyer's agents are looking.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Or cows, right? Or cows, right? So I'm going to give an example, right? And look, the purpose of me working with Propspot is to try to make investing cheaper for a lot of our first-time investors that cannot afford to use a buyer's agent. And I'm not saying that I'm against buyer's agents. I am a lot of them, okay? But there's a few that I like, which I don't work with, right? We say that we want to make investing cheaper let me start that again. We're saying we want to make investing cheaper or more affordable for first-time investors because, like I said to you, a lot of our investors don't have the money to pay for a buyer's agent or a property strategist, right? When they are already struggling with the deposit themselves, right? So I'm going to give you a quick, or maybe it's not even struggling with money, right? Maybe they just don't want to use a buyer's agent or want to do everything themselves. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick example. We had a client, they were not short of a buck. All right? Buying power is not a problem. $500,000 in the bank account. Plenty of equity, all right? But they didn't want to use professional help, all right? Didn't want to pay $15,000 for a buyer's agent. They're based in Sydney. First-time investors to invest interstate, so they didn't even know what to look at themselves, right? I told them 2 years ago to look at Kerwin, Townsville area, okay? Had a little look, nothing happened. A little few months down the track, we said, look, maybe look at Perth area, Camilo, around that area. I forgot exactly the whole shebang I told them. Then I reckon late last year, I told them look at Frankston, North Frankston, Craigieburn, Roxburgh Park, which is bang, bang, right? Still haven't done anything. So what I'm trying to say is a lot of the people out there that don't get professional help and want to do everything themselves are losing a lot of opportunity costs out there because they would have made a lot of money if I told them to invest in those areas during those times, essentially, right? So, yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Look, I think the one thing I'd add to that is the best time to make an investment decision is always today, right? Waiting for tomorrow or a property price drop, those things most likely never come. Look at Sydney, for example. People have been waiting for 20 years to buy their dream house. 20 years later, the price has doubled, maybe even tripled. So unless your incomes are going to go up significantly because, you're studying to be a doctor or a specialist, and you're seeing an 8 times increase in your income in the next 5 to 10 years, the best time to act is most likely today.
Yeah. So I just noted down some data from my existing customers over the last 12 months, right? First-time investors investing interstate. Split them into 2 groups. The first group is them using professional help. And the second group of people is they try to do it themselves. Okay, so I can tell you right now, right? So investors that seek professional help, okay, 80% of them purchase something within the first 5 to 8 weeks when they got the pre-approval. Okay, so if they use a buyer's agent, they use a property specialist, 80% of the clients would buy something in the first 5 to 8 weeks when they got the pre-approval. So that's pretty fast. That's pretty fast, right?
What do your normal clients who don't use professional help do?
Well, I got it right here, right? So the ones that want to do everything themselves, I would say, if I say 30%, that's being very generous.
Right. Okay.
So 30% of the first-time investors that want to do it themselves, they will buy something within, maybe you're lucky, in the first 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
But these are, look.
And what, 70% of them don't buy at all?
Well, let me tell you, 70% of them actually goes very stale. They actually don't end up buying anything, or they'll revisit it in the next 6 to 12 months. But you know what's going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months? The property prices go up again. And they get deterred again, right? And that they rethink, okay, where they're going to invest, right?
Yep.
Now, the 30% that I said that buy something in the first 3 to 4 months, okay, they know what they're doing. They know what research to do. They know the data they're looking at. They know the criteria and they tick all their boxes. They're in it straight away. They're not emotionally attached to these investment properties. So they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Okay, but it's more
they're rational investors.
Yeah, exactly. Right, but it's more the other 70% that don't do anything. Okay, are the one that's losing out, and I can understand why, right? Because they don't have help. They don't have help. Who's going to help them, right? Backyard barbecues, right? That's as far as I can get. Read articles, right? Or forums. But when you're reading articles and all that, if you read a certain area in an article, most likely it's going to be very hot already.
And the data's probably outdated.
Exactly, right? So, and they don't have money. And to be honest with you, the other 70%, a lot of them didn't have the funds to use a buyer's agent or special help. Yeah, they don't have it, right? They don't have the extra 15G to throw out their own pocket, right? And since you started your business, all right, that product itself has helped our clients quite a fair bit, okay? Especially for the clients that cannot afford 15Gs, but they can afford the whatever fees you are, even know what fees you're paying now. Yeah, so as you can see, if you don't get professional help, okay, you're pretty much lagging, right? You're pretty much going to be stale. You're pretty much may not do anything. Okay, so yeah, I'm not too sure if you have anything to add on that.
Well, look, I think the one key criteria here is the best time to start investing is today. Get down, do your research, whether it's yourself through free sources, through the help of Propspot, or through the help of a buyer's agent. Get yourself into that market and overcome that hump. Once you've done it once, you'll be in a strong position to do it again and again and again, and get yourself onto the property ladder.
So, mate, we got a lot of viewers here. Okay, so look, for the first-time investors out there, mate, tell us something that you can give them. An area, a spot they can look at themselves, right?
Sheesh.
Tell us what.
The pressure's on.
Throw them out a bone, right? Show them what you can do.
The pressure's on. Look, we're sitting in August 2025. I think there are a few considerations here when it comes to capital growth and yield, etc. in your property portfolio. We all know what Melbourne's doing. We spoke about it at length at the start of this podcast.
Can I stop you right there, right? But is there still opportunities in Melbourne?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, if you're someone who has 20 to 25 hours a week to spend on the phone to real estate agents, to building and pest inspectors, to solicitors, coordinating all yourself, or you have a really, really, really good buyer's agent.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that's fair to call out. Just note that when you're going to Melbourne, you're most likely looking at a 3.5 to 4% yield. So you will be negatively geared. Now, going across the broader picture, there is one state in Australia that isn't really talked about much, but statistically speaking, is seeing some good numbers at the moment. Vacancy rates in these suburbs are low. Property prices are poised to go upwards. Stock on market is going lower month in, month out. And that state is Tasmania. So there are certain pockets in good old little Tassie that are landlocked, that are not seeing much inventory come to market, that are seeing very low vacancy rates and very low building approvals, which are all the key metrics, or some of the key metrics to be clear, to indicate that prices are heading in an upwards direction.
But Tassie did boom quite a few years ago, right? So when Melbourne had its last boom, before this one, you got flown on to Tassie. Tassie had its run up, but also it had its run down a few years later, right? Because it actually went up too high, too fast. So slowly now we're actually seeing that coming back up.
Yeah, I think, look, Perth is a great example of this, right? Perth had a massive mining boom in the early 2000s. I've got family and friends who bought in the Perth boom, in 2007 for like $900,000. And the property went backwards between 2007 and 2019 before it's done its next run up. And so Tasmania's had something similar, although over a shorter cycle, where property prices had a bit of a boom in the late 2015, 2018 period. They've gone backwards slightly, but all the metrics are pointing towards something different in the near future.
Any suburbs? Come on. Because our audience here, right, they're all used to buyer's agents. Yeah? They're all used to buyer's agents. They're not really used to research houses. So, mate, from a bone.
This suburb is not financial advice or property advice of any sort.
That is correct.
It is merely
just chat.
Interpretations of the data points that I've looked at.
Yeah, chit-chat.
So the suburb I'm looking at right now is Risdon Vale.
What does it say?
Risdon Vale.
Risdon Vale.
Yep.
Right, so what's the average price around Risdon Vale?
It's about $550,000 at the moment.
That's affordable.
The good thing about Risdon Vale is that land value-wise, you're getting a lot for the land. So, you can find a old house on 1,000 square meter block for $550,000. You can find a, newish house on a 500 square meter block for $550,000.
Sure.
Right. And so yields in Risdon Vale are sitting at about 5.2%.
That's killer. That's pretty good.
With a well appointed mortgage broker who can get you the best rate.
I wonder who's that's going to be.
You'll be sitting pretty neutrally geared.
That's pretty good. Right,
exactly.
over 5 as well. Right,
and we're talking about a capital city in Australia. Sorry, Tony. We're talking about a capital city in Australia. Population growth the same as Townsville.
Yep.
Right. And property prices that are lower than Townsville's.
Yep. So if your gross yield is around 5.5, right now interest only investment rates are around 6%. After the drop, 5.85 ish. Okay. No, 5.75 ish. Sorry. Right. So one more drop, mate, you're going to be at least close to neutrally geared, right?
I thought with a well-appointed mortgage broker, you'd be closer to 5.5% by now.
Come on, mate. Come on. The RBA's not doing me favors right now, right? So, mate, look, I appreciate that. I appreciate throwing a bone out.
No problem.
But quick question. Okay, so what is the driving factor on this area that has the potential for property price to go up?
Yeah, so there's a few things we look at, right? There's fundamental and technical. I'll cover off the technical parts first. Specifically for Risdon Vale, we're seeing very low vacancy rates. We're seeing very low stock on market, and we're not seeing many more properties come on market, and we're seeing very low building approvals. So Risdon Vale as a suburb is showing all the right technicals to say, hey, there's not many properties that are coming up for sale. Many people want to rent there. Many people want to buy there. And that's what creates price demand.
Sure. Mate, quick question. So what is the driving force on the workforce down there?
Yeah, so it's all blue collar workforce, right? People working in trades, skilled labor type stuff. There's also a correctional center there, so in Risdon Vale itself. So there's a lot of employment for the correctional center in Risdon Vale. But I think Hobart overall has a lot of fundamental changes going for it. There's currently a close to $1 billion redevelopment of the Royal Hobart Hospital And Hobart's a small place, right? So
Mate, we'll never get that. We're not going to get that in Rouse Hill.
Risdon Vale down to Hobart is like a 25-minute drive.
Right.
So you're not missing out on much. Risdon Vale's got that correctional centre. And then along the Glenorchy waterfront, they've spent $300 million to build a Hobart Stadium and also a waterfront shopping and dining precinct. Think about our old Harbourside in Pyrmont, right? That's essentially what they're building right now in Tassie, down in Hobart.
Yep.
So that'll really liven up the area.
Yep.
And overall, I think...
Potentially new dwellings, maybe?
Who knows, mate?
Eh?
Who knows? I'm not saying anything.
Eh?
And, I think in the medium to long term, what we've got net new migration coming in from all over the world. Most people are going to settle into Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Right. No one's alleviating from that. But the reality is a proportion, no matter how small or insignificant, of that net new migration will settle in Hobart.
Well, do you know what? It could be a situation where people from Sydney or Melbourne want to leave the original state and move somewhere else.
That too.
Migrate to another state, right? I had
too.
clients that migrated to Melbourne when it was cheap, Queensland, right? Even Perth. They even migrated to Perth before it even boomed, right? So, mate, it wouldn't surprise me to get down to Tassie. Right.
And Tassie is one of the more interesting cities in this state, right? It's actually quite landlocked. There are mountains surrounding it on both sides.
Yep.
So the amount of developable land there is quite little. And so when that runs out, they'll have to start going upwards to be able to try and fit everyone in or go further out. And as you know, all the job centres, economic productivity is all hovering around Hobart CBD. So the closer you can get to Hobart, the better you'll be.
Thanks for that, Sean. Appreciate it, man. I
Pleasure.
bet you a lot of our first-time investors will take that into consideration and start doing their research.
Love it.
So everyone, there you have it. That's another episode of the Mortgage Chat. And remember, there's a lot of useful videos in our YouTube channel. And I can guarantee you, Sean is going to come back on a regular basis as a regular host, and we're going to talk a bit more crap about the market, how the market's going, because we want to give you the latest data on the market. I'll see you next time. Thanks, Sean.
Catch you guys.